What if I told you there's a place in America twice the size of Texas where grizzly bears outnumber gas stations? Where glaciers the size of cities are melting into the sea, and where winter darkness lasts for months? Welcome to Alaska, America's last true wilderness. And before we dive into this frozen empire, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because what you're about to discover will completely change how you see our planet. Let's rewind to 1741. Russian explorer Vitus Bering sails east from Siberia and stumbles upon a coastline that would change history. What followed wasn't just exploration. It was an empire in the making. Russian traders pushed across the Bering Strait, establishing settlements from Kamchatka to Kodiak Island. Their prize? Sea otter pelts, so valuable they were called soft gold. At the heart of Russian America stood Sitka, perched on Baranof Island, between snow-capped peaks in the Pacific. This wasn't just a trading post, it was the capital of an entire territory. But the indigenous Tlingit people weren't going to surrender without a fight. In 1802, Tlingit warriors destroyed the Russian outpost in a fierce rebellion. The Russians returned 2 years later with reinforcements, establishing New Archangel and tightening their grip on the region. Fast forward to 1867. Russia's finances are crumbling, the fur trade is dying, and Alaska has become more burden than benefit. Secretary of State William Seward negotiates a deal that seems insane: $7.2 million for 586,000 square miles. Critics call it Seward's folly. They have no idea what's buried beneath that frozen ground. If you're enjoying this journey through Alaska's past, drop a comment below telling me which part of Alaska you'd most want to visit. Now let's talk about one of the planet's most critical ecosystems, the Tongass National Forest. This is the largest temperate rainforest on Earth, covering 16 million acres across southeast Alaska. Picture trees that have been standing for 800 years, Sitka spruce and red cedar growing to absolutely massive proportions. The Tongass gets over 150 inches of rain annually in some areas. That constant moisture creates an explosion of life. Mosses, ferns, lichens, and rivers teeming with salmon. But here's the mind-blowing part. This forest stores 44% of all carbon held by U.S. national forest. Scientists literally call it one of the lungs of North America. While the Amazon gets all the attention, the Tongass is quietly keeping our planet breathable. And the bears? Admiralty Island alone has an estimated 1,600 brown bears, the highest concentration in North America. During salmon runs, these giants consume over 80 pounds of fish per day, then drag carcasses into the forest where they decompose and fertilize the soil. The bears are literally farming the forest, creating a nutrient cycle that connects ocean to land. Above the forest floor, bald eagles rule the sky. Southeast Alaska has more bald eagles than anywhere else on Earth. These birds, once on the brink of extinction in the lower 48 states, found refuge here. With a wingspan over 7 feet but weighing just 10 pounds, they're built like fighter jets. All power, no waste. Let's head to the glaciers because this is where Alaska's story gets truly dramatic. East of Sitka, the Endicott Arm cuts deep into the mountains, ending at Dawes Glacier, a 12-mile river of ice flowing from the Stikkan ice field. When chunks break off and crash into the water, the sound echoes like thunder through the fjord. Near Juneau, the capital city that's completely cut off by road from the rest of America, sits the Juneau Ice Field, over 1,500 square miles of frozen wasteland. From this ice field flow more than 36 glaciers, including the Taku Glacier, which is 36 miles long and nearly 5 miles wide. For most of the 20th century, Taku was actually advancing while other glaciers retreated. But around 2018, scientists observed it had stopped moving forward. The glacier had hit a tipping point. Then there's Mendenhall Glacier, probably the most visited glacier in Alaska. For 3,000 years it's been carving through this valley, but in the last century it's retreated more than a mile. Visitors in the 1930s could touch it from the road. Today, you need to hike to reach the ice. At its base, meltwater creates a stunning turquoise lake, and from the cliffs beside it, Nugget Falls roars, a white torrent that seems to cascade straight from the clouds. Smash that like button if you think these glaciers are worth protecting. In 1880, prospectors Joe Juneau and Richard Harris found gold traces in what would become Gold Creek. Within months, tents and shanties stacked along the shoreline. The Treadwell mine on Douglas Island became one of the largest gold operations in the world. Juneau stayed even after the gold ran out, eventually becoming Alaska's capital, a city with no roads to the outside world. But the real madness happened in Skagway. Yet when gold was discovered in the Klondike in 1896, over 100,000 stampeders flooded into this tiny settlement. The town exploded from a handful of cabins to a roaring frontier of saloons and gambling halls. 2 routes led to the Yukon, the White Pass and the Chilkoot Trail. Both were brutal, steep, and deadly men hauled supplies on their backs, sometimes making dozens of trips. Then came the engineering miracle, the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway, completed in 1900. Thousands of laborers blasted through granite mountains, building wooden trestles over impossible gorges. The little steam engines clawed up cliffs at grades that would terrify modern engineers. Today, that railway still runs, carrying tourists instead of miners. Further north, near the Bering Sea, lies Nome, where gold wasn't buried in mountains but shimmering right there on the beach. Nearly 20,000 people flooded this isolated shore within a year. The wooden dredges that clawed through riverbeds a century ago still rust in the tundra today. Anchorage began in 1915 as a muddy tent city for workers building the Alaska Railroad. It had one crucial advantage: location. Protected by Cook Inlet with the Chugach Mountains rising behind it, Anchorage became the natural hub for a territory too vast for roads. When Alaska became a state in 1959, Anchorage was its beating heart. Then came Good Friday, 1964. A magnitude 9.2 earthquake, the most powerful ever recorded in North America, shattered the city. Entire neighborhoods crumbled. Streets split open, buildings pancaked, but Anchorage rebuilt, stronger and faster than anyone expected. Today, it's home to nearly 40% of Alaska's population, a city where you can see snow-capped peaks from almost any street. South of Anchorage, the Seward Highway follows Turnagain Arm, which has tidal ranges up to 40 feet. Then you hit the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel. At 2.5 miles, it's the longest highway tunnel in North America. On the other side sits Whittier, one of the wettest inhabited places on Earth, with over 250 inches of precipitation annually. Nearly all of Whittier's 250 residents live in a single building, the Beggish Towers, which contains apartments, a school, a grocery store, city offices, and even a church. It's a vertical community surviving in one of Alaska's harshest climates. Drop a comment if you'd actually want to live in a building with your entire town. Prince William Sound covers 15,000 square miles with over 3,800 miles of shoreline. About 150 glaciers descend from the mountains here, including the Columbia Glacier, one of the fastest moving glaciers in the world. Since the 1980s, it's retreated more than 12 miles and lost over half its thickness. At the eastern edge of the sound sits Valdez, a town with a dramatic past. Founded during the 1898 gold rush, it was advertised as the all-American route to the Yukon. Thousands arrived only to find themselves trapped with no viable trail ahead. Many died trying to cross the Valdez Glacier. But Valdez's real transformation came in 1977, when it became the southern terminus of the Trans-Alaska Pipeline. This 800-mile steel artery carries crude oil from Prudhoe Bay to Valdez, where enormous tankers load up and carry Alaska's black gold to refineries worldwide. The pipeline crosses 3 mountain ranges, over 800 rivers and streams, and survives temperatures from 80 degrees Fahrenheit in summer to minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit in winter. North of Anchorage lies Denali National Park, 6 million acres of untamed wilderness surrounding North America's highest peak. Denali reaches 20,310 feet, dominating the skyline with such force that it creates its own weather systems. The park is home to moose, North America's largest deer species, with males weighing over 1,500 pounds. High on rocky slopes, Dall sheep navigate cliffs with uncanny balance, their white coats striking against gray granite. And of course, the grizzlies. These apex predators rule the tundra, digging for ground squirrels, grazing on berries, and occasionally taking down caribou. If this video is blowing your mind, make sure you've subscribed. We're just getting started. In Fairbanks, winter temperatures drop below -40 degrees Fahrenheit, and the sun barely rises for months. But when the sky clears, the aurora borealis transforms the darkness. Fairbanks sits beneath one of the best viewing belts on Earth, where solar particles create glowing ribbons of green, purple, and red. From Fairbanks, the Dalton Highway cuts 414 miles north through wilderness toward the Arctic Ocean. Built to support the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, it remains a lifeline for workers truckers drive it year-round through snow, sleet, and fog, crossing the Yukon River and climbing through Adagun Pass before reaching the North Slope. At the end lies Utqiagvik, formerly known as Barrow, the northernmost community in the United States. There are no highways to reach it. Average winter temperatures hover around -20 degrees Fahrenheit, and every building is raised on stilts to prevent heat from melting the permafrost below. Life here exists at the edge of what's possible. Katmai National Park is home to an estimated 2,200 brown bears, thriving on one of nature's richest feasts, the salmon run. Every summer, sockeye salmon push upstream from Bristol Bay to spawn, and the rivers explode with movement. At Brooks Falls, dozens of bears converge, each using its own fishing strategy. Some stand midstream waiting for salmon to jump into their mouths. Others wait below the falls to scoop up the unlucky few. Across the sea lies Kodiak Island, Alaska's Emerald Isle. This island became the site of Alaska's first permanent Russian settlement in 1784. But beyond the harbors lives the island's most famous resident, the Kodiak brown bear. These giants can reach 1,500 pounds and stand over 10 feet tall when upright. Despite their massive size, they move with an ease that seems impossible. Alaska stretches itself thin at the end, fragmenting into the Aleutian Islands, over 300 volcanic isles arcing toward Asia. At the heart of this chain lies Unalaska, a green and rugged landscape carved by ancient volcanic forces. The town of Dutch Harbor occupies just a corner of the island, but is one of the busiest fishing ports in the United States. Known worldwide from the show Deadliest Catch, the harbor's fleets haul millions of pounds of pollock and crab from the Bering Sea each year, the same waters that have sustained people here for millennia. Alaska is a reminder that our planet still has corners where the modern world fades into background noise. This is a land that resists control. It's been mapped, mined, and measured, yet never truly claimed. The wilderness dictates the rules here. It grows back over roads, swallows ghost towns, reclaims everything we leave behind. Even today, most of Alaska remains inaccessible. No roads, no power lines, no cell signal. The people who call it home live in balance with nature, knowing the taste of cold air at 50 below and the brief ecstasy of endless daylight. If this journey through America's last frontier inspired you, hit that like button, drop a comment with your favorite Alaska fact, and subscribe for more incredible explorations of our planet's wildest places. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.